In today's episode, I want to talk about holidays in China and compare them to those in America. First, I want to point out some interesting features in both systems. Most Chinese holidays are based on the lunar calendar, and so the date changes year after year. The only holiday that relates to in America is Easter, but note that Easter is always on a Sunday in America, and as such, is never a bank holiday, at least not for those companies that don't typically work on Sundays. Since I have always worked for companies that worked from Monday to Friday in America, I never got Easter off. But back to the Chinese system. Typically, the holiday features follow a X month, X day system in China. So the first day of the first month, the second day of the second month, and so on until the 12th day of the 12th month. Also note that almost every holiday in America is only one day long. The only exceptions to that would be Christmas Eve, which companies might give half a day or a full day off. Similarly, the day after Thanksgiving might be either a half day or a full day off. It depends on the company. The holiday schedule is set by the Chinese government, and as such, companies that work on certain days, except for retail or other required work, must give those days as holidays. There are two 3-day holidays in China, but with the Chinese system, they can move weekend days around to make it a 7-day holiday. Useful for those who travel, since in China, vacation time is a rarity. So let's look at holidays, which are both national holidays and traditional holidays. First, January 1st is New Year's Day, but it's not a major holiday in China, and not everyone will get a day off for it. Mostly just for companies that have a large foreign staff. Then we have the first day of the first month in the lunar calendar. This corresponds to Spring Festival in China, marking the end of winter. It is basically the equivalent of New Year's Day in America. It is by far the biggest holiday in mainland China and has a full 3 days of holiday time. It is celebrated at the end of January or the beginning of February. It also marks the largest single migration of people, referred to as Chunyun, in the world, as everyone in China has off that day. Just about. People tend to visit their relatives. They give each other money in red envelopes. There's a fireworks display and a special television gala program, kind of like the Chinese equivalent of New Year's Rockin' Eve. People eat dumplings, which kind of look like old Chinese money and is considered lucky, or noodles, which are long and represent long life. On the 15th day of the first month in the lunar calendar is the Lantern Festival, Yuanxiao, which is 2 weeks after the Spring Festival. It is kind of a minor festival, and no holiday time is given. People eat tangyuan, glutinous rice balls in a broth. People often build ornate paper lanterns and write messages or poems in them, then send the lanterns into the air or water. The second day of the second month in the lunar calendar is not a major Chinese holiday, but people might eat special Chinese food like Chinese pancakes on this day. Likewise, the third day of the third lunar month, called Shangzi, is no longer celebrated in mainland China, and most Chinese people don't even know about it. But it is celebrated as Hinamatsuri on March 3rd in Japan. This is followed by the Tomb Sweeping Day, Qingming, on either April 4th, 5th, or 6th, depending on the year. Unlike other Chinese holidays, this is based on the solar calendar. Very similar to Easter, it is a day to pay respect to ancestors by visiting and cleaning graves. Labor Day in China is May 1st, International Labor Day, and marks the unofficial beginning of summer. kind of like Memorial Day in America. Like in America, Labor Day is a one-day holiday. The fifth day of the fifth month in the lunar calendar is the Dragon Boat Festival, Duanwu. It typically falls at the end of May or in June and is marked as a one-day holiday. Families generally gather on that day and eat glutinous rice dumplings called zongzi. It is so named because in a few places there are dragon boat races on that day. But most Chinese people don't care about that. It really doesn't have an equivalent day in America, but the closest thing could be Memorial Day because, well, people have barbecues on that day. The seventh day of the seventh lunar month is Qixi, or Double Seven Festival. Basically the Chinese equivalent of Valentine's Day. It falls sometime in late July or August. It is not really very special and no holiday time is given, but many stores have sales on that day. It is based on the myth of the Weaver Girl and Cowherd as represented by the Summer Triangle constellation. The Ghost Festival, or Zhongyuan, is on the 15th day of the 7th lunar month. It is more important for children, and no time off is given. It's basically the Chinese equivalent of Halloween. Typically, children burn fake paper money on that day to ward off bad spirits and as an offering to deceased relatives. The 15th day of the 8th lunar month is Mid-Autumn Festival, Zhongqiujie, which typically falls in September or early October. It is a one-day holiday. Basically, it is the Chinese equivalent of Thanksgiving, where people eat mooncakes and look at the full moon on that day. It's always the day of a full moon. Families usually gather on that day. Immediately following this is the Chinese National Day festival, Guoqingdian. It is a 3-day holiday where people often get together with their families. It's the Chinese equivalent of Independence Day, but with much greater significance. There are usually parades or other special events on that day. It is also the second largest travel day in China. The 9th day of the 9th lunar month is called the Double Nine Festival, or Chongyang. It is not a major holiday and no time off is given, but many stores might have sales on this day. November 11th is celebrated as Singles Day, or Double 11. Again, not a major holiday and no time off is given, but stores might have sales on this day. Finally, the winter solstice, or Dongji, is celebrated on either December 21st or 22nd, marking the beginning of winter. People generally eat dumplings on this day. Again, no time off is given for this holiday. Foreigners might get Christmas off, but Christmas and in general, no religious holidays are celebrated in China, with some exceptions. And that is the holiday scheme in China. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Also consider liking, sharing, and subscribing, and feel free to donate to my Patreon. I look forward to sharing more with you next time.